Welcome to Hellblade 2 review, you psychotic bastards. This is gonna be a shorter review than usual because of no spoilers, since the game is heavily story focused. Only early game footage has been put in this video. I want people to fully experience Hellblade 2 themselves. Important to know is that I haven't played the first Hellblade, so this was all new to me, so my experience might be enhanced because of it. So your experience might be a lot different if you've played the first one. Not gonna waste too much time talking about the presentation because it is 10 out of 10. Graphics are insane, animations fully lifelike even in combat. Voice acting is incredible, music is incredible, faces and facial animations second to none. I don't have words for it. I had viewer on the stream asking me when is it that I'm actually in control in combat and when is it a cutscene. Also have to specifically mention Shadow's voice. Holy crap, one of the best voices I have ever heard.
You should not have come here, child. Your hopes were always doomed to fail.
Many people are gonna say this is a tech demo. If you haven't played the game, then it can seem that way. In terms of gameplay, it absolutely is a tech demo. In terms of story and writing, it is anything but. After 30 years of gaming, I rarely get impressed these days by anything. If there is just an aspect of a game that is phenomenal, I am already chuffed. To play a game like this that is gonna keep me immersed to the maximum level vast majority of time to the main character and the story with such high quality presentation complementing it while continuously impressing is the last thing I am expecting to happen with games today. Don't get me wrong, I almost never start the game with negative thoughts because I've learned over the years how to keep expectations in check to give every game a fair chance to impress, disappoint and everything in between. I didn't know what to expect with Hellblade and holy crap did it impress. If I knew what to expect, maybe it wouldn't be as impressive. Trying to say if I've played the first game before the second one, maybe it wouldn't be such an insane experience due to expectations. All characters in the game are so lifelike, it is incredible, with focus being on Senua and her psychosis. Binaural sound design does a lot of heavy lifting here to depict the situation in Senua's head. By the way, I would advise playing with headphones. The way that voices are talking in your left and right ear is such an incredible idea. Many different voices continuously planting seeds of doubt and belief, while Senua struggles to continue forward dealing with all of this. The will to protect her people versus the battle in her head and continuous self-blame. Is she the reason why people that she tries to protect are suffering, and why is misery following her everywhere? Game also raises good points about humans being easily controllable when tragedy strikes, and how the most wild people take the opportunity to take the reins and run with the situation for self-benefit while being prepared to risk everything to retain that power. Another great point is how monsters are created and not born. Brilliant stuff that ties fantastically into the grim Norse world where giants are destroying what is left of people and land. Then the story that explains why that is the case is heartbreaking at times. Specific situation that I don't want to spoil where Senua is on the brink of dealing with the situation and the way the pain of the subject she is trying to help and destroy is portrayed sent shivers down my spine. Ever-increasing screams coming from grief and anger hit so hard, even through the screen. The way this game combines emotions, immersion and atmosphere into one experience is holy shit levels of awesome. Even the least impressive sections are made better due to the ever-present voices and incredible atmosphere making the situation feel more real. For example, when Senua goes to find hidden folk, the setting is the least impressive imaginable compared to outside areas up until that point considering it is just a cave. But developers made sure to make it memorable by making a couple sections inside so atmospheric by increasing tension through Senua's fear due to danger all around her. Thing is, you can say that for most situations in the game, so the cave experience is not the exception but the rule. World helps a lot, it is staggeringly realistic looking while detailed to a ridiculous level. Grim, brutal landscape complements the story fantastically. Deepens the feeling of misery and despair. When looking at the state of the land, you can't help but think that despicable human behavior towards one another comes from desperate attempts to survive, which is also a well-told story part through the Northman slaver character. Then going through burned villages while seeing piles of bodies with such amazing presentation truly paints the picture on another level.
What happened here? What happened here? Everybody has died.
All the people butchered.
Dead bodies everywhere.
Now to talk a bit about the gameplay. Only thing you'll be doing is moving forward while solving a couple puzzles and fighting. Puzzles are alright, but at times they feel a bit out of place due to fantasy element of it, but it can be tied to the mess in Senua's head. They create a bit of gameplay dynamic with voices never letting you out of the character. Nothing spectacular overall. Game could have done without it, but that would mean less gameplay engagement, so hard to say what kind of an impact it would have overall. Combat is not deep, but it works well for this game. Atmosphere created in every encounter through music, realistic animations and up-close and personal style complements the game very well. Voices play the part here too, even though they can get repetitive during combat, and in such an immersive game it is not a good thing. I appreciated the combat background a lot during the fights, as it created an elevated experience, especially later on in the story when full-fledged combat between two sides occurred. Though I think it would be better if they decreased enemies per encounter and spread them out a bit more, but I get that in certain situations it pertains to Senua's psychotic episode that spawns them. For me, combat is good enough, simple and effective. Nothing brilliant, but creates enough engagement for the player to feel the control while also not taking them out of the character. No UI, menus, pickable objects adds a lot to the immersion as well. I appreciate that because the point of this game is to never take you out of the character, which succeeds 100%. Now we come to the big conundrum about the price, length, is this even a game, and how to look at it. I can't give you an exact answer, but I can share my experience and how I look at it. I value each game as an experience, and each franchise has a different take on it in the end, no matter how similar it is to other games inside the same genre. Hellblade 2 is not built around gameplay, that is for sure. So if you're looking for meaningful gameplay that is gonna blow your mind, this is not a game for you. Combat presentation might blow your mind due to how cinematic it is, but that is about it. If you're like me and can look at this type of a game as an experience rather than anything more, it can be one of the best experiences you've ever had, especially if you haven't played the first Hellblade. Reason is the presentation of the story, and that the way it conveys emotions like fear, uncertainty, despair, revelation, tension is on a level I have rarely felt in my life from games and movies. Not to mention how this might be the most immersive experiences I've ever had. Such heightened emotional experience I can only gain from specific music that I listen to, which leads me to the point of this game being more of an art piece than an actual game. How much are you willing to pay for an art piece is entirely subjective. For me it is worth the asking price considering the experience, but you might have a completely different take on the price, and I can agree with almost every single take about this game. It's not a game, it is a game, it's not worth the price, it is worth the price, it's amazing, it's lacking. Only thing I cannot agree on is about the length. In my opinion, if this game was longer, then it would be detrimental, because it is such a linear and narrow experience with very little gameplay dynamic. I think 5 to 7 hours is the perfect length for such a game, and I even think it could be better if a few sections were shortened a bit. That would reduce about 30 minutes of game time, but I think it would make pacing slightly better. Scoring Hellblade 2 is irrelevant. I can only be completely subjective here due to things mentioned earlier, because it is such a unique experience that can be heavily affected by personal expectations, philosophies, preferences, and having or not having experience with the first game. Since this is my first experience with Hellblade, I can safely say that everything it wants to be does almost perfectly. Storytelling, characters, presentation, atmosphere, voice acting and emotions are 10 out of 10. Combat gameplay is decent, but mostly due to impressive presentation, and not because of mechanics and depth. Puzzle gameplay is mediocre at best. Optimization needs more work, as I've had frame rate issues during the mid portion of the game. In my opinion, short length is a positive for such a game, but some might disagree. As you can see, my score won't say much in the end due to too many personal experience variables. My score is 9 out of 10, but it is the most irrelevant score I've ever given. If you want great gameplay, you won't find it here, but then again you might be robbing yourself out of a completely different amazing experience based around other stuff. Then again, it might be an awful experience because of the gameplay preference. See the problem here? Anyway, I hope this review brings more clarity to Hellblade 2, but I'm sure it won't. It's a piece of art, and as such it can be looked at in many different ways with all being valid. Thanks for watching and see you soon.